How we doing? It's already Moon Day today. If you're interested in talking about how changing your internal life will then change your external life, listen to this live. We're here every single Monday. Manifesting Mondays is what I call it. We are calling in the things that we want in life and learning how to do so at the same time. So if you want to be a part of this community, listen to this live. Hi, everybody. Geez, I feel like I was just live 5 seconds ago last night. How is everybody doing? We're talking about, in order to shift your external life, you got to change the internal life. I should sit more ladylike, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. The reality is, right now, planet Earth and many of the things happening on it are causing many of us internally to be rattled, to be scared, to be feeling helpless or hopeless, to feel anger, to feel rage. It's really interesting, like every time there's some kind of like major world event, everyone becomes so aggressive, so angry, and so rageful, which is an effect of when these things happen, but it's also another reason just to keep people stuck, to keep people divided, and to keep people from finding true happiness and to finding their true power. It's like, even if you're coming from a good place, many people just don't even want to hear that. They want to hear their version of the story. They want to hear their version of acceptance or being accepted. And when they don't get that, especially from someone maybe that they have followed for a long time or that they respected, they literally lose their minds. And when you want to change your reality, you have to become the unfuckwithable version of yourself. When you get to that level, and I spoke about this last night, when you get to that level of not being able to be played around with, your emotions are so stable that no one can knock you off of that balancing beam. If they push you one way or the other way, you still stay completely balanced. When we get to that type of space or that level of balance, our life really begins to change in a radical way. Maybe it doesn't happen overnight. Maybe it takes weeks or months for that change to happen. But once you are untouchable in an emotional way, in an energetic way, things will really start to shift for us. Hi, everybody. And if we can get to that place, which is a very challenging place to get to, when we can become detached from things, not in a way that we're in a state of detachment, but in a way that we don't allow things to negatively affect our energy as maybe we did before. It isn't because we don't care. It's because we understand I am creating and I am recreating these scenarios over and over again with my level of consciousness. So, change can happen, but it has to start from the inside. It doesn't happen by pointing fingers at a politician or pointing fingers at your doctor or your lawyer did this wrong and they didn't do that. I think I might have to move the lighting. It's getting really weird in here. Okay, we're going to be doing the inner work today. You guys are just going to come for a small walk with me in the new space and my crazy printed pants. Okay. My little, hello. In case you haven't noticed, I like prints. Okay, so I like that to be in my background a lot of times. I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'm a little bit weird with the way lighting is, probably because I was in film and TV for so long and it makes me crazy. So we're gonna be reading from the inner work today. And you guys know why. If we want to change our exterior reality, we have to do the inner work. And many people will never do this inner work. Not because they don't necessarily want to, but they don't know how to. And it's so important for us to show up for ourselves because it teaches our children, it teaches the people around us, because our energy is contagious. The more that we have better energy, the more that we start to climb up the vibrational ladder, the more your own life changes, the more other people's life starts to change. And then that's how we change the planet. And I talk about this all the time. And a lot of people have such difficulty seeing themselves from the outside, right? Because it's difficult to, well, how do I see myself from the outside? It's monitoring my thoughts, monitoring my words. Like I talked about last night when I was live, that I deleted that post that incited a lot of anger in people because they didn't agree with what I said. And I can agree that the way that I said it was in anger, because I'm sick of being gaslighted by the government, by the medical system, by everything. Like, we're gaslit on an hour or minute by minute basis every single day. And to see people cheering on an act of war really triggered me. So there's still so much work I have to do on myself. But the key is that I recognize it. I could have stayed in my ego and said, I don't care, I'm keeping this video up. But the higher self of me was like, take it down. Take it down, because it is inciting a feeling of rage, and that is not what you are about. I don't want to incite rage. I don't want to incite divisiveness to be right, because that would mean that I'm in my ego, and I just want to be right with what I said. Whether I was right or wrong in what I said, I don't want to invoke those type of feelings in people. I had so much more engagement or videos that went viral when I incited rage in people. Like 2020, all my videos went viral all the time because I was so angry and whatever. And not that there isn't a place for righteous anger, but if I want to do better for Earth, I have to do better for me. And that goes for everybody. When we are constantly making people feel a state of anger or rage or shame or helplessness, we know about the map of consciousness. For those of you that have been here a while, the map of consciousness tells you exactly where you live and exactly where you're going to stay. And I don't want to stay in the survival paradigm. And just because I was angry and really just pissed off about what Trump is doing, because I don't believe in what he is doing, I incited a lot of feelings in people that I don't want to have myself, which I did. So if we want to literally change the earth, it has to start with you, me. It has to start with every single one of us as an individual. And I always talk about that. That is the inner work that most people never want to do. Oh, Trump's going to do this and Trump's going to do that and Biden's going to do this. Just whoever. It's always outsourcing your power because you're too afraid to do it yourself. Maybe you don't have the balls to do it yourself. Maybe you are afraid to activate your throat chakra. You don't speak your truth, so you outsource it to someone else to do for you. That is the inner work. And that is where your power lies. The power doesn't lie in a politician or the next person that's going to be voted into office. Those people are useless. They are useless. They are the low tier puppeteers for the upper puppeteers, just making them do their work. Follow the script. I don't want to hear anything else. Just follow the script and do what we tell you. And as long as they keep following the script and as long as we play into their hands, we could never love one another. So many people that claim Christianity or any other religion, and they will quote the Bible and all these things, and they don't live from that state, not even a little bit. They're the biggest hypocrites on earth. As soon as you do something that they don't like, they'll quote the Bible, but they don't live that verse themselves. So if you want to be like Jesus, start to embody what he did, which is the highest level of frequency that earth has ever seen. Not because you'll get there. Who knows if any of us will ever get there. But to try to attain that means that you are trying to embody what he did, which is radical love, radical acceptance, a state of internal balance. There's so many people that will say Christ is king, and they will have these quotes in their bios. Even like the person that I talked about last night, who is very, 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 very popular right now. And all she talks about, she'll say, Christ is king. she doesn't act like Jesus at all. She's very divisive. Her content is divisive. Her attitude is not that of Jesus. And it's not because you're judging, it's because you're observing. You're observing the people that speak that of higher authority as Jesus was, but they don't live it. They don't embody it. I try to embody it, right? I have the awareness that I don't always embody it. I have the awareness that I have a lot more shit to do. That I am not anywhere near perfect, but I love to read about it. Every single day I spend reading on it of how do I better myself and my mindset? Because the more that I do that, the more that I could teach it. Never be afraid to fail with failure. Never be afraid to fail. Failure comes with understanding of what not to do again when attempting to succeed. And that's an amazing place to live by, but many people don't. And that's why I am so anti-religion, because I watch so many people that don't embody what they preach. I watch so many people use Jesus or use his frequency or use his teachings as a weapon, and they don't use it themselves. So if you want to be someone that is embodying a fraction of what he did, you are going to be one of those people that are going to help to elevate the rest of consciousness. So everything has to come from the inside. You know, it's like, well, if I just make this amount of money, then I'll be this. If I just have this kind of partner, I'll be that. If I just was married, like I would just have everything figured out. You are externalizing your power, and therefore you will never possess it. So if you want to make change, it starts with you. The power starts inside of you. The power doesn't come from, oh, I have a really great boyfriend. He's amazing. He makes me so happy. No, you make yourself happy. You find a place of happiness and stillness and acceptance that whatever comes along is just a bonus. Oh, well, when I start making so much money, then I'll feel like this. Externalizing your power. We may not like someone, but we are required to love them. That's a tough one. These are examples that right there. We don't have to like someone, but we are required to love them. Think about that. Think about how much would change in your world if you're like, I don't like this MFer, but I love them and I'll send them love, because then they have less impact on you when you hate someone, because you're still harboring the hate. People think with their ego that, oh, I'm just never going to talk to them again. I'll show them. When you're the one harboring all the feelings and the other person is just like out living their life being happy. And your ego. Now, I'm going to say two different things. When you are coming from a space of ego and you are, I'll show them, that's one thing. But if you are or have removed yourself from someone else or have removed them from your life for your safety, for your sanity, for your elevation, that's different. And you can still love them from afar, but you don't have to like them. I find myself liking animals more than people these days. That's probably the greatest thing I'll hear all day. When you see, why do you think videos of dogs, for example, are so powerful and they make you feel good as soon as you start watching them? That is high vibration right there in the flesh. If you want to be like anything on earth, be like a dog. Be like a horse or a dolphin or an elephant. They're the highest vibrational creatures on earth. Watch them. How can I embody what they do? You can walk out of your door and leave your dog here and go take the trash down the hallway and come back, and they will be so excited to see you as if you left for 8 hours. How do we embody that vibration? How do we get to such a space of unfuckwithability that everything just makes me feel good? Not because you should fake these feelings, but to learn how to embody them. to learn how to turn that on at any time. We know how to turn rage and anger on at any time. Thanks, Karen. The Inner Work. I don't know who, by Matt and Ash. There is no last name. The Inner Work. But to get to that space, how do we embody that? They don't let anything bother them. They are the example. Even if you're angry at your dog or whatever, which like I never yelled at Leo a day in his life. Like I literally never did. My sister would crack the whip. Not just like if she had to reprimand him or something, she would, because he would be a little shit. Like he would go after people. He would bite people because he was protecting us for no reason though. And that's just what he did. But if you could just observe them, if you did reprimand your dog, 5 minutes later, that rolls off of their back and they just love you again. You know? Oh, thanks, Karen. My heart is good. Wait a minute. I just tried to pin that and okay. So if we can learn any lessons from our pets, because some people don't understand like why they came into my life or, you know, whatever. And it changes the trajectory of your life if you recognize that and if you allow it to. With Leo, he came into my life at one of the worst times 12 years ago. And someone that loved me dearly randomly bought him for me. I didn't seek Leo out. Like he was meant to be with me. And he appeared into my life. I had no idea what to do with a dog. I never had one before. And he was the cutest, most headstrong little thing that I've ever seen. And he just showed me so many things. There's so many valuable lessons that animals teach us if you will look at them and learn from them. Because so many people will look at animals as like, oh, they're just a dog or they're just a cat or they're just a horse or whatever. And those people, you know, not my people so much at all. Because they are what we should embody or try to embody or what we should be inspired by to be like from a vibrational standpoint. So for people that don't really care for animals or, you know, things like that, like there's so many people that don't care for animals. Those are not my people. And I don't want them in my space because they treat sentient beings like that as less than, period. And since I've studied so much of vibrations and frequencies, like it's so important to recognize the importance of animals in our life because, like I said, Leo changed my vibration forever. And that was his gift to me. I was always into, obviously, like manifestation stuff and affirmations and like that kind of thing. But he took it to another level for me because I didn't know that I could love anything the way that I loved him. And love is one of the highest vibrations. It is right below spiritual enlightenment. So when you have love, when you don't have love, let's say, your life is missing out. There's many people that have an avoidant attachment style, and you're missing out on so much in your life by not allowing one of the highest vibrations into you. Because if you can't allow yourself to be loved, how can you give that to someone else? And if you aren't, and if you are afraid, again, think about you are fearing or being in fear of one of the highest vibrations on earth. And a lot of people do not feel worthy of the highest vibration on earth, which is why people will repel it, people will ghost, people will abandon, people will leave you, people will cheat you because of your belief about yourself that I am not worthy of one of the highest vibrations on earth. And you got to think about that. And many of these people that are constantly on the internet and telling their story about politics every day, like there are people, I don't go on Facebook, but they're like the older generation, like my parents' generation, that are on there, and all they do is spew hatred about politics every hour. It's like, is that your story? Is that your story about how the little politician hurt you? Is that all that you have to contribute, is how much you hate something? What else are you doing with your time? If you don't believe that you are worthy of love, you will spread the opposite. It will leak out of you in ways that you don't even recognize. If you don't allow love in your space, you certainly won't truly give it. To know love is to know God, because God is love. To know love is to know God, because God is love. Again, I say, so many people that are hopped up on religion will preach the word, will preach what Jesus said, but they will not embody it. They'll do it sometimes, but they don't do it all the time. And why? Because not everybody is not perfect. We are all imperfect. But if you're going to preach the word, and you are going to be of your religion or of your faith, and you act the opposite from what you preach, you're not truly embodying the word of Jesus. You are just memorizing it and repeating it. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have with religion, is that people have turned religion into not the embodiment of, but the memorization of, and using that as your weapon. Quoting scriptures, quoting what Jesus said, because you are just memorizing words and feeling you are superior to others because you can do so. So you memorizing words, well, I memorized my ABCs, congratulations. You memorizing verses from the Bible doesn't mean anything when you're not embodying it. I'm not saying that everyone does that, but a lot of people in religion do that I've come across. They use religion as a weapon. They use the words of Jesus as a weapon, and they don't fully embody them. And then there's other people that do embody them. There's other people that do live from those words, from those teachings. But to understand the laws of the universe versus religion are very different things. Because the laws of the universe will teach you about vibration and the laws of reciprocity. They will teach you things about what you should embody. Whereas religion doesn't teach you what you should embody. They teach you about words. They'll teach you about Jesus and his life. But they don't teach you the integration of that. So if we want to live a very different life from what we're living right now, it is the embodiment of high vibrational energies. Not because you have to be high vibe like that. That was a distraction. That was a deterrent from what high vibration actually means. Everything is inverted. Anything that's good for you will be inverted. So saying you're high vibe became like a trendy thing rather than actually embodying what high vibration means. High vibration doesn't mean that you don't stand up for what's right. High vibration doesn't mean not having righteous anger when necessary. It doesn't make you a person that doesn't have any feelings other than high vibrations. When we learned, high vibe was, when did that become trendy? Like obviously like in the 70s it was a thing. And then it came back again. In the last 10, 15, 20 years maybe, talk about high vibe. And it was hijacked. That phrase, high vibe, was just hijacked to make you sound like a quack and make you sound like, if someone that just goes and hugs trees and that you're just goofy. Not because tree huggers are goofy, but because they want to classify us always. Because if we're classified into a box, we could always be separated from someone else. Same with being woke. Yeah, that was sliced and diced into a million different ways. So when these truths become hijacked, they become divided, and then they make groups smaller and smaller and smaller so that more people can just become divided against religion, against spirituality, science versus spirituality, black people versus white people. Then Mexicans were the target this year. Now Jewish people are the targets. Instead of it was just black and white for a long time, right? It was black versus white for a long time. They divided us by just two simple colors because that's polarity, right? One and the other. We have one thing and we have the other thing. But now we have one thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. It's Asian people, then it's Mexican people, then it's Jewish people, then it's black people, then it's Somalian people. Do you understand? The pieces of the pie are getting smaller and smaller so they can never become whole again. And that is on purpose, obviously. The more you divide, the less of a chance there is for unification. But whether you're black, white, green, or orange, when you understand energy and vibration, then you're looking from a very different aerial view. You're looking from a view of, I see what you're doing, playa. I see what you're doing, and it doesn't work for me anymore. I see what you did there, mainstream media. Doesn't work for me anymore. And that is what the age of Aquarius is going to bring in, is us being very sovereign and just standing in our power. That is why so much chaos is ramping up the last several years, is because the age of Aquarius is moving in, and that power structure no longer fits here. The puzzle piece doesn't fit here anymore. So when you start to understand all the energy principles of Earth is when unification happens, which is their worst nightmare, because then they can't control us anymore. Don't you want to live in a world that is free? Because right now we're not free in the sense of what we can be. We are all God's children. When Jesus walked with his disciples, he told them, go throughout the land and spread the knowledge I've given to you that my Father has given to me. And that's what he wanted, right? Is to spread his word, but also to embody it. You could talk about Jesus's words all day. You could talk about what he believed. You could quote him. But if all you do is quote him, and all you do is use that as being superior to someone else, that's not what Jesus was asking. He was saying, embody what I embody so that you can spread my word and people will believe it. It's become so commercialized because that's what it was meant, that was meant to happen. They totally inverted what his whole philosophy was by turning it into a religion, that he was against religion. How do you turn a religion? How do you turn somebody's teachings into a religion when he literally fought against the system of religion? He said, you don't need a structure to go into to find me, which means God. You don't need to go into an institution and have a person stand up there and speak to you. You can embody it yourself. The kingdom of God is within you. So how did they make a religion against someone that was against religion? How did they make Jesus the focal point of religion when he was vehemently against it? He was against the system. He was a rebel in all forms. He was a rebel that taught radical love. So how did they make religion again when he was totally against it? You got to think of these things. You got to think of what you're following. You have to think of what you were indoctrinated to believe is truth. They couldn't kill his message, so they stole it and they inverted it and they made it what they wanted it to be. They made Jesus God so that you could never understand that you can be like him and you can do what he did. He said, you can do more than what I can do. He wanted you to know your power. So they took his teachings, they took his magnitude, and they made him into a God that was so far above humanity that you could never think that you could be like him. And he taught the opposite of that. You can do what I do and so much more. He didn't say to worship him. That was written afterwards. He didn't want you to worship anyone. So for people to say like, oh, worship Jesus and accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, like you've never done the research. And I know this is supposed to be about manifestation. This all goes back to your vibration. But people that have just been told the story of their religion have never looked at the history of it, have never looked at how the story actually unfolded, of how Jesus's teachings actually became a religion. They hijacked what he did because they couldn't kill off what he created. And then, of course, they invert it like they do with everything else. And then they made it that you had to worship him, that he represented, that he saved us from our sins. Like, do you understand that all these things are just a story? All of these things are just a story. He didn't want people to worship him. He wanted people to follow him because he understood the way. I am the way, the truth, and the light. And Neville Goddard broke that down into the I am is the way, the truth, and the light. And Jesus understood that the I am was the way, the truth, and the light. I am are two of the most powerful words, for what comes after them is what shapes your reality. See, this is all of the beliefs. We don't know that, no, he was God that became man. That is also a story. The truth is, none of us know the truth. But you can understand through what makes the most sense when you really start to research the history of all of these things. The official story that we've been indoctrinated to believe is the truth sounds way less likely to be the truth than what it is. And again, because everything changed so much from what he taught to what the religion named after him became, is also divisiveness. And that's the last thing that Jesus wanted, was divisiveness. So if this was truly about the embodiment of Christ, there would be no division that would come from it. There wouldn't be so many people that say, well, if you don't accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, then, you're not welcome here. Do you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? Jesus accepted everybody, whether they loved him or they hated him. That's the difference. So you can hide behind religion all that you want. And just because you claim to be religious doesn't make you a high vibrational being, because so many people that are religious are not actually good people. He accepted free will. That's what God does. And we can accept free will and be God as well. God literally reigns through every single one of us. He's experiencing humanity. He's experiencing what it's like to be human through every single one of us. Thank you for saying this is exactly how I feel. It's a topic that most people will never talk about because they're afraid of it. I'm not afraid to talk about anything, especially when it comes to the lack of authenticity and the story behind religion. Because, like I said, the majority of people that are a part of religion have no idea what the history of it is or was, and how their religion actually came to be. Now that we see what happens to people that speak the truth now, just pretend that Jesus was here right now. Would he have been publicly executed? Absolutely. If he was speaking the highest level of truth and he was here right now, he would have been gone a long time ago. Just like what happened with Charlie Kirk. He was publicly executed. But with Jesus, it would have been on even a grander magnitude because of what he taught people. They could never have someone, because when you reach the level of enlightenment, imagine he was here now and he reached the level of enlightenment. When you reach the level of enlightenment, you have the ability to transmit the negative energy of, I think it's 70 million people. So imagine if Jesus was here now and he had the power to transmit the negative energy of 70 million people. He could just go to different places on the earth at different times of the month. And just his energy can transmute the negative energy of tens of millions of people. We would have world peace very quickly if he was here right now. But they created a religion with him as the focal point. They created a religion where he was far superior to any person on earth, purposely so that you would be disempowered and you would not ever think that you could be like Jesus. So if he was here now and he was teaching people how to embody the type of power that he had, do you think that they wouldn't have killed him instantly as soon as his vibration started to change the vibration of Earth? Everything you're saying, hi Patricia, I love you. Everything that you're saying herein is absolutely right on. Religion is a narrative that is counter-contradictory to the message and example that Yeshua incarnated to share with us. So we can go back and forth with, people feel that their religion is superior to others. If religion is so great, why are you comparing anything? If religion teaches you to be so loving, why do you feel any sense of superiority because you are this versus this? No one talks about this, and all my research says what you're saying. Are there resources you suggest to continue on my path of enlightening my own inner Christ? Honestly, let me look at this book because it's a really good book that talks about so much cool stuff. Let me see if I can find which one it is. I forget. Where is it? Oh, okay. It's called Access Super Consciousness by Spina, and there's probably AJ Spina maybe or something. Access Super Consciousness. That has a lot of really cool information that he talks about Jesus in there. He talks about that Jesus was probably reincarnated, like that was his last incarnation, but he was Buddha and he was Krishna. Like, it's really interesting. And it just it says in there that he's not going to come back in this world, at least anytime soon, if ever. Yes, my mother would argue with preachers and priests about this subject. I was too young and embarrassed to learn and listen until after she passed. Now, 40 years later, here you are letting others, I didn't see the rest of that, know about Jesus. What if they knew they couldn't kill him? Religion has to be made to record its history and establish it. Exactly. People would be better to accept their individual religion and imply it to their own belief system. Validation comes from awareness. Thank you. I appreciate this. How men use it. It's not the fault of the religion that has the main point that God is for us. I don't know what you mean by that. Hi, Joe. Honesty is your super... I don't know what that says. Thank you. Yes, Access Super Consciousness. RJ Spina, not AJ Spina. I was close. I didn't even get to read the inner work because I was rambling on so much. So maybe I don't have to read it, actually, because this is very important for us to talk about this. Let me just see there. Okay, I think that this is important. There are no boundaries to your happiness, divine abilities, and expressions of gratitude. If you only surrender resistance to accepting this truth, no one has more access to happiness, divine creativity, or greatness than you do. We all share in equal access to infinite joy, fulfillment, and peace. If we can just live in the knowingness of that nobody has, maybe someone has such a greater life than you do, or why don't I have this? No one has more access to happiness or joy or anything than you or me. We all have infinite amounts. There's my girl back there. Infinite amounts of all of these things. We just have to understand and learn how to tap into them. It's like, do you think that Jesus went around and was just like, oh, today's such a shitty day. My back's hurting me today. Or do you think that he just lived in such a space of gratitude that it's like he was untouchable? They didn't know what to do with him. They couldn't kill his energy. They might have killed his body, but they could not kill his message or his energy. It was too late. There were too many people that followed him to bury what he created here. There were too many people that felt what his shift in energy could do for them to kill it. And that's why it's so important to understand the map of consciousness, because the higher you get to the spiritual paradigm, the more your energy affects everyone around you. So if we all live in the knowingness that I have an infinite source of joy, happiness, gratitude, abundance that I can tap into at any time, your world starts to shift and change to be that. Jesus understood the assignment. You know, when they say he disappeared for so many years, like he went and he studied this and he perfected this and he embodied it. He remembered that we're that powerful to be able to do this. He had the knowingness that greatness can come from embodying it. And then he started to teach it. And people would come from all over the place just to be anywhere near his energy, because you know when someone walks into a room, you're like, who is that? Think of that magnified by something that you can't even comprehend. None of us can comprehend. That's the type of energy that you want when you walk into a room, is that my energy will change the room. Because I'm embodying something so high vibrational that like I can literally help to shift and change people's energy. Imagine how powerful that is. Imagine that you walk into a room and you're hunched over and you don't want to make eye contact with anybody because you're so introverted and you're so into yourself, and into yourself, not in a like narcissistic way, but just like withdrawn, shameful. You feel shame in yourself. You feel guilt in yourself. You feel powerlessness. And then imagine walking into the room where you're the life of the party, not because you're demanding that energy, but because your energy demands that from everyone. So when you feel like shit, just think of if you were in the time, or if Jesus was here now and you got to be anywhere within any kind of proximity of him. It's like when there's a concert at a stadium and you could be like blocks and blocks away and you still hear and feel the vibration of the music. Like I grew up right near the Veterans Stadium and you could hear when the Phillies got a home run. You could hear when the Eagles scored a touchdown. You could hear the fireworks. If there was a concert, like you could hear it right from outside my house or outside of my grandmother's house. And you could feel the energy and the vibration. So imagine, okay, Jan, I wrote that in the ebook, the Marilyn Monroe story, because she said Marilyn Monroe knew how to do that. Marilyn Monroe knew how to turn up the volume. And there's a story that I wrote about in the ebook, the Map of Consciousness ebook, that my sister and I are almost done with. I did an ebook last year, and that was right before Leo transitioned. And I was like, I just have to write something different. And I did. And she's now revamping the whole thing. But I wrote the story about Marilyn Monroe. There's a story about her where she was walking down the streets of New York and nobody recognized her. And her friend was with her and nobody knew that she was Marilyn Monroe. And then she knew how to transmute her energy. She knew how to turn on the Marilyn Monroe energy, that energetic, sensual, superstar energy. And she said, watch this. And she just turned on her energy. And all of a sudden, people were flocking around her. Oh my God, Marilyn Monroe, like, can I have your autograph? Or whatever they did back then. Because they certainly weren't really taking pictures back then, because nobody had a camera. But she knew how to turn on different energies. That is why, even from that standpoint, she will be iconic till the end of time. There aren't people on this earth right now that will be remembered forever. Like, she will always be so iconic because that energy that she had was just so magnetic. So imagine that energy magnified thousands of times. She wasn't in the spiritual paradigm. She just knew how to play with energy. Imagine how magnetic she is, that Jesus was unimaginable. So take that with you today. And when you're in a space where you feel disempowered, think of his energy and what it would be like if you just had a fraction of it. Was it, Jen? Thank you. We always know the same stories, except I don't always know all the details. I just remember the gist of the stories. So, your external life only changes when your internal life does, which was the title of this. Jesus understood how to change his internal world. That's why he could heal people. I mean, I know I went to this super powerful healer in Mexico. How does he do it? He understands energy. He understands how to read it. He understands how to feel it. And then he also understands how to transmute it. And Jesus knew this on a level that is unthinkable. So he was able to heal the sick. He was able to heal the blind. He was able to walk on water because he understood how to manipulate energy in a way that he was the most high vibrational being that ever was on earth. Gayla, you missed this one. So I'm just about to sign off. But, thank you, Karen. Okay, so this is the homework for the week. Now I'm going to be on here for another 20 minutes. Okay, yesterday I talked about the 30 days of no storytelling. This is very important. Storytelling is what? Complaining about how you feel. Oh, my back is killing me today. Or when you start to recognize how much you storytell, your storytelling is telling 70 trillion cells. It's giving them direction. My back hurts. I hate my job. Oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? I didn't make enough money last week. Your storytelling. The homework is for 30 days, you are not able to storytell. You must be in Florida, Gayla. Maybe. No storytelling. Because when I read about this no storytelling thing, I suddenly realized like I had a lot less things to say. And that's not a bad thing. Because of all the things you're saying is how, like my neck, I talk about my neck all the time. My God, like my neck hurts today. Like yesterday I had a horrible migraine. No storytelling for 30 days. Gatlinburg. Or you can only speak of your successes. 30 days of no negative storytelling. Okay, that's the homework. Things will start to shift and change when you realize you can't tell these stories anymore. What am I going to talk about? If I can't complain about how shitty I feel, or if I can't complain about my job, or if I can't complain about how bad my kids are, if I can't complain about the person I fought with last week, what the hell am I going to talk about? You better figure it out. Sherry, I'll tell you about where I read about this, just not yet. So 30 days of no storytelling starts today, is January 5th, I think. Okay? And if you want to message me and ask questions about it or whatever, you can do that. 30 days, no storytelling. Okay, I'm going to hop off. If you need to watch this again, watch it again. Love y'all. I'm going to go get my workout in. I'm going to do my reading. And, oh, Gayla, I love that. Okay, it's January 5th. Thank you for the confirmation. Because I don't know what day it is anymore, and I don't even care. Okay. I'll see y'all this week. Love you guys. Adios.